Hello everyone, my name is Pinkulia and welcome back to Blooming Nightshade. We finished Izumi's route last time and we're moving on to Nanami's route, I believe is the next one. Because we did Kiyomi already, and then Nanami, and then Asuki next, I guess. But Nanami, the shy girl. Week 5. I'm so glad it doesn't make you go through all of the beginning prologue again, so you only get like the new dialogue. That's something like when I replay visual novels or try to do all the routes in visual novels, I always have to just like keep it on skip until a new thing comes up for me to pick or a new text shows, and it's kind of annoying sometimes, especially if it's a long visual novel. But anyway, Nanami texted me about needing help with some of her homework, and so I headed over to the library. I hoped I was able to help. I didn't really think it through when I offered to help her out. I sat down in the seat across from Nanami, which caused her to jump when she saw me. Sorry, did I surprise you? It's fine. I just didn't see you. So what did you need help with? Well, you see, my parents used to double-check my math homework, so I'm nervous handing in math homework until someone else checks it now. I know it's childish, but... She trailed off, biting her lip. I decided to take the leading to keep her from getting too worked up. Let me take a look then. Thank you. She handed me her solution sheet, and I went down each problem and checked her work. My eyes started to glaze over halfway through, but I kept up for her sake. She had no faults, and everything was done exactly as the textbook expected. They look perfect. Really? Yeah, I've never seen someone get all of these right on their first try. Nanami seemed to miss that part, taking the sheet back and putting it in a folder. I'm so glad it all worked out. I get so worried I'll make a mistake that no one catches in time to save my grade. Did her parents get mad when she got bad grades or something? Thank you. I'll ask you again later, if that's okay. Oh, yeah, that's fine with me. She gave a fragile-looking smile, then took her things and ran off. I'm glad I was able to help her, but did she even really need my help? Week 6. I was looking for a place to sit in the dining hall when I heard a voice call out to me. Hey Himika, wanna sit with us? I turned to see that Kiku and Nanami were at the table together. Curious, I walked over to join them. I'm not sure I've seen you two together often. The place was a bit full when Nanami came, so we ended up sitting together. It seems to have cleared out a bit since then. I guess I'm a bit late for dinner. Studying? Yeah. Nanami gave me a weak smile. At least you'll be ready for tomorrow's classes. Nothing can really prepare me for classes. Kiku turned to Nanami. Anyway, tell me more about this recipe you were talking about. It sounded interesting. Oh, it's Polish, I think. I can't pronounce its name very well, though. What kind of food are you talking about? It's... let's see... Imagine a cookie, maybe, except it's folded around a fruit jam filling. Kiku grinned as if she were imagining it right now. I'm interested in seeing what this looks like. Can you show me sometime? Sure, I think I can do that. It does sound interesting. Talking to these two about food made me feel like my actual dinner was subpar. Maybe I should consider trying something new. Week 7. Nanami texted to say she needed my help again, but this time asking me to come to her room. When I knocked, I heard what sounded like a squeak of surprise. Just a minute! I heard frantic movement on the other side of the door, then Nanami opened it with a massive blush on her face. Come in. She let me inside, where I smelled some sort of food. Fresh cookies, maybe? I made you some cookies. We had spare ingredients at my club. Oh, thanks. She presented me with a plate of warm cookies, and I took 2 from it. So, what did you need help with? I want to make sure my history homework is right. I looked over at her bed and saw a book poking out from under her pillow. Is it over? A sudden squeak silenced me, and Nanami pressed a book to my chest before running to her bed. I'll get the assignment sheet. I didn't get a good look at the book Nanami had under her pillow before she shoved it into her drawer and gave me her homework sheet. I forced the cookies into my mouth so I could hold the book and assignment and started looking it over. As before, it was flawless work. I tried to figure out how to ask why Nanami was worried. Are you sure you need help? This all looks fine to me. My parents used to check everything before I turned it in. I guess I never grew out of it. She gave me an awkward smile that faded into a frown. I was spoiled, so I don't know how to do it on my own. I get worried. I don't think you need to worry. This all looks great to me. I handed the assignment back to her. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Nanami bounced a bit in her seat with a massive smile. I'll try not to worry so much. But we can talk again, right? Sure. Thank you. She gave me another few cookies as I left, which I thanked her for. I might not be hungry for dinner at this rate. Week 8. I was on my way back to my room after classes for the day when I found Nanami standing in the hallway. She was wearing an apron as if she had been on her way to her club meeting, but she was clasping her hands over her chest and looking around worriedly. Is something wrong, Nanami? She jumped a bit at hearing me. Sighing, she looked up and gave a small nod. I'm trying to make Asuki bean paste for you, or for my club, but no one in the club has any recipe for it handy. We might just look it up online, but the club president wanted to find someone who already knew how to make it. I'm afraid I've never had to make anything like that. Is there anyone that might know? Asuki beans generally seem to be part of the traditional sweets, so maybe someone like Shiori would know how to work with them. I think Kiyomi might also know something about basic recipes, though I can't be sure if she ever worked with Asuki beans. If all else failed, Nanami could talk to her classmate, Asuko. Maybe she'd be willing to help. Who would be best to suggest? Probably Shiori. There's a third year named Shiori that looks like she might know something about this. I told Nanami about Shiori and how to meet up with her. Nanami nodded. Thank you. I'll try talking to her. Good luck. Nanami headed off. I hoped things would go well for her. A few days later. While I was heading back to my room after class, I noticed that Nanami was hesitantly walking over to me. When she approached me, she held her hands in front of her as she took a deep breath. Is something wrong, Nanami?
Well, I went to Shiori about the Asuki bean paste like you suggested. She didn't really know how to make it, but she tried to help us anyway.
I guess it was too much to expect Shiori knew how to make it then. Did things work out?
We looked up a recipe online. Shiori, helped us out when we went to make it. I was surprised she was willing to help us, even though it wasn't her business.
It sounds like she wanted to make up for her lack of knowledge. I'm glad things seemed to work out in the end. Nanami started to step away from me.
Anyway, see you later.
Okay, see you. With that, she hurried off. Not sure how to respond, I decided to just go back to my room. Did I make a mistake? No! Week 9. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake, but this VN seems pretty easy. Nanami called me to meet her at the cooking club's room, so I went to go check on her. When I got there, only Nanami was present. She was cleaning up a table and putting things away. There was some sort of bread laying out, looking freshly baked. I'm here. Nanami turned, noting my presence.
Just a moment.
Finishing up with the cleaning, Nanami took off her apron and took the plate of bread.
I, made some spare seed cakes for you.
Seed cakes?
They're an English recipe, I think. You'll try one, right?
Sure. I took one of the cakes and put it in my mouth. It had a texture kind of like walnut bread or some other kinds of bread with nuts or such inside. This is pretty good. I'm surprised I've never heard of it before.
I'm glad you like it. To be honest.
Nanami looked away, biting her lip.
I don't know how to say this.
She looked really worried. Is there something wrong?
No, it's just... But will you go out with me? I can bake you treats like this all the time.
I nearly coughed on the last of my seed cake when she blurted that out. I like that. She's really shy. I'm surprised that she asked us out instead of us having to ask her out, but I'd like that. I don't know what to say. I guess I'd be okay with that. I ordered from a blush was as red as Nanami's as she turned to face me.
Thank you. I'm really thankful that you've put up with me. I want to make you happy too.
Has Nanami not made a lot of friends? You're not as hard to be around as you make it sound.
But I'm always being really selfish and spoiled.
I don't really see that. You're being too hard on yourself. I'm not sure if Nanami accepted that observation because she instead pushed the plate of cakes towards me.
Want more?
Sure. We talked a bit more about her baking, then I headed back to my room. I didn't expect to suddenly be asked out by such a cute underclassman. Week 10. Once again, Nanami called me over to her club room after everyone else had left. This time she was pouting as she slumped over a counter. A nasty smell hit me as I walked into the room. Did something get burnt? Nanami only nodded, not saying anything. You didn't get hurt, did you? I walked over near Nanami, only for her to pull at her hair and growl.
I did everything right. Why didn't it just work?
I had to step back to avoid getting hit by her elbow. I felt my heart pump faster seeing her so upset. Nanami, are you okay? Nanami slumped against the counter, sliding to the floor. She didn't even adjust her skirt when it slid up and revealed her pink panties.
I can't do anything on my own. Boop.
Spoiled
Boop.
She was almost in tears now. I knelt down next to her. Nanami, it's okay. It was a mistake.
But if I mess up like this, you won't like me anymore.
That isn't true, Nanami. I placed a hand on her shoulder as gently as I could. I'm not going to break up with you because you messed up a recipe. You've baked on your own before, right? And you succeeded?
Yeah?
And you are good with your schoolwork even without help, right?
I guess.
Then you can do things on your own. If you need help, you can ask people for it, but don't hate yourself if you can't do things on your own, okay? She didn't respond, but she seemed to understand what I meant. She probably was too embarrassed to admit she was wrong. How about I help you clean out the oven? We don't want it smelling like this tomorrow.
Thank you.
We ended up spending almost an hour cleaning up the club room. We didn't say much. Still, I think Nanami felt better when we left. Week 11. I was walking down the hallway when I saw Shiori, who was looking at each door number before moving on. Worried she might be lost or something, I went over to her. Looking for something? Shiori turned to me, nodding. I was going to speak with someone from the cooking club, but I forgot to ask where it was. Oh, the cooking club? You're on the wrong floor.
Really? I thought for sure I was getting close.
How about you follow me? I'll show you where to find it. Shiori smiled and gave a slight bow.
Thank you. I'm going to be late at this rate.
I showed Shiori where the club room was, telling her that the room number was as well, so she could find it again if she forgot my directions. Once we got there, Shiori bowed again.
Thank you. I'll be sure to remember this time.
Don't worry, it's hard to remember if you never knew in the first place.
True.
Shiori waved and went to the cooking club room. I wonder what she was going to talk about. Week 12. I got a text from Nanami asking me to come to her room, so I went over to check on her. She was doing homework when I arrived, but she put it away when I got there.
I made the pastries I wanted you to try before, but I forgot to give them to you. They weren't overcooked this time, so hopefully they're still good after a few days.
I'm sure they'll be good knowing you. I'm looking forward to trying them. Nanami smiled at me and stood up, unwrapping a plate that had been sealed with clear wrapper. I took a seat on Nanami's bed. I felt something hard and rectangular under me, and I had to shift around a bit. Looking down at where I had sat, I saw the outline of what I think was a book. Hey, Nanami, what is...
I don't get it!
Scurrying over, Nanami dug under the covers and slipped the book under her arm. Forcing the plate of pastries into my hand, she ran to her desk and put the book away. Are you hiding that from me?
I don't want anyone to know I have that sort of thing.
She must have blurted it out without planning to, because she clasped her hands over her mouth and blushed hard. I'll try one of these pastries. It's probably boop. I had my suspicions before, but it's like most definitely boop.
Thank you.
I took one of them and bit off a piece. A fruit jam gave the snack a lot of flavor. I like this one. What did you make it with?
Let's see.
She started rattling off the recipe, going over each ingredient and step. I lost track partway through, but it looked like she was enjoying herself, so I let her keep talking.
Try this one next.
Okay, let's see how this one tastes. There were a lot more pastries that Nanami wanted me to try than I expected. Before long, I realized I had taste tested a whole plate of snacks. By the time we finished, I was no longer hungry for dinner. I guess I'll just skip it for today. Week 13. After classes one day, I overheard a few girls in my class talking about a bake sale being run by the cooking club. I wonder why Nanami had never mentioned it to me. At any rate, I had better go. Even if I don't buy anything, I want to cheer Nanami on. When I got to the cooking club's room, I looked around for Nanami. It didn't take me long to find her, and I waved to get her attention.
Hey, Mika, why are you here?
I wanted to see how you were doing at the bake sale. Why didn't you tell me about it?
I don't want to make you pay for what I make.
I guess I can sort of see why she might think that way. You don't want me to buy what you've made?
rather make it for you, especially for free.
That's really sweet of her. I'll look forward to that then. Is there anything good that the others made?
Maybe try these ones over here.
Nanami showed me a few suggestions, and I bought a few snacks made by her clubmates. After saying goodbye to Nanami, I took my purchases back to my room. Week 14. I was looking over some books to read at the library when I noticed that Nanami was sitting at a table in the corner. Heading over to her, I waved to get her attention. She looked up from the book she was reading and smiled.
Hey, Himika, what are you here for?
I was considering something to read to get my mind off homework. Haven't found too much so far.
You have 2 books there.
I sat down across from Nanami, setting down the book she had pointed at. Well, I'm not too sure about these yet. This one looks like it could be just a generic fantasy book, and the cover of this mystery book makes it look weird. Anyway, what are you reading? Nanami held up her book, and I glanced over the title to see that it was a cookbook. Looking up a recipe?
Sort of. I'm actually more looking at the pictures right now. Some of these illustrations are creative.
What do you mean? Nanami turned the book towards me. I leaned in a bit to take a look at the recipe title, which had something to do with carrots. Wait, are those purple carrots?
Look closer.
Is that supposed to be a red celery stick? Do they even blend that way? I looked at the recipe title again. Sweetened carrot twist.
Not only is it a strange recipe, but whoever drew the pictures has a strange idea of what the food looks like.
I hope this is a joke book. Nanami checked the front and back of the book, trying to find some indication that the author knew what they had made.
I hope so too, but no idea.
Please don't make me anything from that book. Nanami chuckled, nodding.
I'm going to put this back. Want me to help you look for a book afterwards?
You don't have to, but if you'd like.
It's fine. I'm not going to find anything of use in this book, so I have a little extra time now.
She hurried off to put the strange cookbook away, but by the time I had time to consider whether or not to accept her offer, she was back. Sorry, that sentence just didn't make sense to my brain. Nanami led me over to the comics, where she suggested a few things for me. When I had picked something out, she squeezed my hand before saying goodbye. After she went to go look for a real cookbook, I checked out the book that Nanami had recommended and started heading back to my room. The title of the book I now held was Witch's Plague. I wonder what kind of comic Nanami had suggested for me. Week 15. I lay down my head on my books, feeling all the energy leave my body. Okay, this is just the same stuff. Can I skip this? Alright, skip. I'm not gonna bother doing that stuff over and over again. I asked Nanami if I could watch her as she baked something. After I got her permission, I headed over to the club room. She seemed particularly into it when I got there, and only glanced up to give me a welcoming smile. Not wanting to mess up her flow, I stood nearby and watched her as she prepared the dough for cookies. As I expected, she was very meticulous with her motions when making food. I wondered if she did everything the way she baked or did homework. Well, everything of that type. She wasn't as skilled with talking to people.
Alright, that should do it.
Nanami walked away from the oven, wiping something from her apron.
It'll be about 15 to 20 minutes.
You look pretty amazing when you're making food, Nanami. She blushed, clutching her hands in front of her chest.
I just want to make sure I don't make any mistakes.
I wondered if it was the stress of worrying about mistakes that ended up causing the mistakes she did make. As far as I can tell, you did well this time, and we have the timer set just in case you forget.
Yeah.
We sat together in silence as we waited for the cookies to bake. The silence felt weird, but I wasn't sure what to talk about. When I was about to try and say something, the timer went off.
I'll get it.
Nanami seemed scared by the alarm, so her movements were jerky as she went to take out the cookies. After checking them, she scooped them off the sheet and onto a plate. She presented the plate to me. Okay, this person who wrote the VN doesn't really know how baking works, I guess, but it's fine. Because you can't just move cookies right when they got off the oven because they'll fall apart if you try to move them. You have to let them cool first. I do a bit of baking, so... Here. I took one hesitantly. Aren't you going to try one first? Don't you want to know if what it tastes like?
If you like them, I don't want to get in the way of you eating as much as you want. I made them all for you, after all.
I felt heat in my face as I swallowed. To hide my embarrassment, I took a bite of the cookie. This is good. You should try one.
If you're sure.
Nanami took one from the plate and put it in her mouth.
You're right. This is better than usual. Maybe having someone to bake for makes them taste better.
I took another cookie, afraid of saying something embarrassing if I tried to respond too quickly. I'm glad I could help you then. Nanami giggled with joy. She took a seat next to me and we shared the rest of the cookies. Maybe I should offer to help her out sometime. At any rate, I'm glad I'm going out with Nanami. Week 17. Winter break! I lay down on my bed, exhausted. Today marked the end of the semester. I'd finished my last exam just minutes ago. Okay, this is the same, but it's not nearly as long as the study one is, so... Students leaving, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to skip and give me new dialogue. There we go. I decided to call up Nanami and ask her out to spend Christmas Eve with me. After telling her what my idea was, I waited for her response. Nanami?
I like that idea.
So, my room on Christmas Eve?
Okay.
I'll see you then. I had to take a few deep breaths after hanging up. I had a date for Christmas Eve. It's also the same, but whatever. I tapped nervously on the book I had on my desk. Nanami was a bit late. I was starting to doubt my idea of a gift for her, an old cookbook I happened to have in my school supplies. That wasn't a thoughtful gift. More like giving away trash. A knock at my door made me jump, forcing me to forget about my worries for a moment. Hurrying to answer, Nanami smiled at me as I led her into my room. In her hands was a small cake, looking recently frosted.
Merry Christmas.
Did you bake this?
Yeah.
She frowned and looked away.
I actually was going to buy one, since it was so last minute. But they ran out of cakes at the dining hall, so I had to make my own. I hope it was worth being late.
I waved away her concern, hoping to bring the smile from earlier back. It's fine. I'm really happy that she went through the trouble. Nanami grinned, a light chuckle coming from her lips.
It's not a very fancy cake, but I hope you like it.
Well... I took a deep breath, knowing I'd blush from embarrassment the moment I finished saying this. You put a lot of love into it, right? I'm sure it'll be fine.
Himika.
She beamed at me, and I felt my heart pound at how cute she was. Trying to change the subject, I went over to my desk and grabbed the cookbook. You don't have to take this if you don't want to, but... I handed it to her. She put aside the cake to take a look at the book. I think this is the first year we actually had a present for our girlfriend. It's an old cookbook that I brought during my first year. My parents thought it would be useful at the boarding school, but I mostly have eaten from the dining hall. I don't know if any of it would be new to you, though. Nanami shook her head with a slight smile.
Maybe I can find something new to try out. I've been baking for you a lot lately. Maybe I should try something different. As long as it's something you'll eat, I'll at least try to make it.
I had to take a seat to avoid toppling from the surge of feelings that gave me. She was such a devoted girlfriend. I need to do more for her. I look forward to it. We sat down together to eat the cake. It was as simple as advertised, but it was fresh. At one point, Nanami lifted her fork into my mouth. Sensing her intent, I reluctantly took the bite. While my face burned red, Nanami simply grinned to herself.
Maybe one day we can be a couple like in my books.
Your books? Nanami nodded.
I'm not ready to share them with you yet. They're not age appropriate. But one day...
She trailed off without any sign she would finish the thought. I blushed at the thought of what she might mean. I'll wait for that day, then. If it was what I thought it was, Nanami had to be ready before she'd share any of that information with me. I didn't want to rush her into talking about that sort of thing before she was ready.
Now, let's see what you have here.
Nanami opened up the cookbook, flipping through the pages.
I didn't know that ingredient went with noodles.
Which ingredient? As the night went on, we finished the cake and began poring over the cookbook's recipes. I felt like tasting most, if not all, of the recipes was in my future. Well, as long as Nanami is the one cooking. Yay! We can't skip the credits, but they're not horribly long, so it's not a horrible deal. We can just wait, I guess, for the after story. I think I like hers better than Izumi's route, but I think her meltdown in the kitchen was a little over-exaggerated. A bit. They didn't go into much backstory like they did with Kiyomi and Izumi, which kind of sucks, but it's whatever, I guess. I was in a library to look for something to read in my free time, and I noticed Nanami looking through the DVD collections. Deciding to go see what she was looking for, I walked over and whispered to her. Hey, what are you up to? Nanami looked at me, frowning.
I'm trying to find a movie to watch, but I'm not liking these options here.
She was holding 2 movies in her hands. I glanced over them, noting that they were both listed as R15. These look pretty intense. How did you end up looking in this section?
Well...
Nanami put the DVDs back, then turned to me again.
I feel like I'm... maybe... how do I put it? Sheltered, I guess? Since I was spoiled by my family, I don't know certain things, or expect things that aren't realistic.
Yet you're still great at schoolwork.
So, I thought watching movies that only older people can watch will show me the kind of things that I need to know to be more mature.
That's not quite how it works, I think. Nanami sighed, playing with her hands.
What should I do then?
Honestly, I think you don't need to worry about trying to become more mature. I think you'll figure things out well enough on your own.
Really?
Yeah, you may have been sheltered or spoiled or whatever, but you're a better learner than you give yourself credit for. Nanami smiled, blushing a bit.
I'm happy to hear something like that from you.
I took her by the shoulder and led her away from the rated 15 movies. Why don't we get a romance movie or something? Something a little tamer? We can watch it together if you have time.
I have time.
Nanami was almost bouncing with excitement as she looked through the shelves for something to watch. She really was cute, going from shelf to shelf looking for the right movie. I guess I underestimated how much she'd like to watch a movie with me. I had originally planned to read a book, but I think I can skip a day of reading to spend time with Nanami.
Let's try this one. The guy is a famous sports star, but the girl doesn't like sports until she meets him. It sounds like it could be a cute, and both of the leads are attractive.
Alright, let's check out the DVD and see for ourselves. Heading over to Nanami's room, we got ready to watch the movie. We sat against Nanami's bed, using pillows for support. As we set up, Nanami brought out some pastries and handed them to me on a napkin.
I made these for you during my last cooking club meeting.
Thank you. I really should repay you for this one day.
Don't worry about it. I like doing this for you.
Nanami is angelic when it comes to her baking. I'd ask for a lot more in return if I had her skills. We started the movie, both of us paying close attention. As the movie went on, the female lead became more and more interested in sports and her love interest, as we expected. What I didn't expect was Nanami's commentary.
Just a kiss, huh? That's not a lot, considering what they've been through so far.
What did you think should happen?
Maybe they could have made out?
As we continued the movie, I noticed that Nanami seemed disappointed by a lot of the romantic scenes, despite liking the rest of the movie. Near the end, she shook her head at the big romantic conclusion where the leads kissed for one last time.
Maybe it's just me, but it feels kind of wasted that they didn't do more. They're both really attractive actors. It'd be nice to at least be encouraged to imagine them in bed together.
I coughed on my surprise when I heard her say that. I hadn't expected that to have been the problem. Well, it's a family movie, so they couldn't suggest that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Nanami shrugged, looking at me.
Well, I liked it for a family romance movie, but I was hoping for a little bit more.
You want to see... what? A love scene?
It'd probably be censored, but I'd like to at least think the lovers did something like that.
I think I get that. After all, one day Nanami and I might want to do more than just hug or kiss. I'll see if I can find a movie like that then, or something else maybe.
Oh, you don't have to.
It's fine. Just think of it as a gift from your girlfriend. Nanami's eyes went wide and her cheeks went red. Then she smiled and nodded.
Okay, I like that idea.
She leaned in and kissed me. I gave her a kiss back. I'll go return this for you. Thanks for letting me watch it with you.
No, thank you for all the things you've done today.
I chuckled, getting up to get the DVD. After I had everything I had brought, I said goodbye and left Nanami's room. I felt like I learned something new about Nanami today. That made me feel good. There's still a ways to go before we fully understand each other, but I hope we can keep learning things about each other like this. Alright, that's cute, I guess. I think I do like hers better than Izumi's, but I just like her character better than Izumi in general, but it wasn't bad. I liked it. I like Kiyomi more, I think. And overall, they could have gotten more in depth with her character, but not bad. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!